The first quarter was a surprise to many, and I would not even exclude myself in a positive way. We had a few news, I'll touch upon it a little bit later, which put a damper on the expectations. And then, nevertheless, we had a good set of figures, 18% top-line growth, 11% growth of operating in net income and earnings per share. And that's, of course, lower than the top line, but that has to do not with operational inefficiency, but with some baseline effects on M&A.
Over 400 Novartis employees were present at the CEO broadcast in the auditorium of the Basel headquarters on April 24. A relaxed Dr. Vasella reported positive results for Q1 2007 and discussed the company's approach to innovation and recent developments.
From a point of view of the strategy now, the portfolio with the divestment of Gerber and medical nutrition earlier will be focused on really healthcare. And you see here the various divisions which cover different aspects of the needs of our customers. And if you think back where we started 10 years ago and where we are today, you can see that over the years, in a consistent way, we have pursued the focus on healthcare. And so we said, now divestments are completed. So don't ask me, and nobody else should ask me, what the next business is we were going to sell. We are not going to sell the next business. So now we are full of appetite. From a point of view of the aspiration, we really want to be the most successful healthcare company in the world. And we will only be able to do that with a top team.
Dr. Vasella paid a warm tribute to Paul Chauffat, soon to retire as head of the Consumer Health Division, and welcomed his successor, Joe Jimenez, who joined Novartis in mid-April. He then reviewed the important news from the quarter.
We had two disappointments. One was Zelnorm to be withdrawn from the market or suspended, whatever you want to use as a word, but the fact is we're not selling Zelnorm anymore in the US. There are ongoing discussions with FDA which patients would still profit. We got over 16,000 phone calls from physicians and patients requesting the drug. We got tons of emails and letters which very clearly demonstrate that this is a drug which can help patients in a very significant way. The other, I would say, not disaster, but step back was the delay in the Galvus approval. It's a major step back because the competitors succeeded, so Januvia is on the market. There's a little piece of good news, which I'm not sure how I should read it, but they had 40% of the new prescriptions. So the class certainly has been very well accepted, but it's a little bit bitter when you can't participate.
Despite Zelnorm and Galvus, Novartis is making significant progress in its goal of achieving multiple product launches in 2007 and 2008 to support longer-term growth. This can only be accomplished by constantly strengthening the portfolio of innovation, as was highlighted by Dr. Mark Fishman, president of the Novartis Institutes of Biomedical Research. Dr. Fishman described new approaches to innovation that are changing the way the company discovers new medicines and boosting productivity at Novartis labs.
Well, as Dan mentioned, our motivation to innovation is the patient, meeting an unmet need. And I'll tell you today about three categories of innovation. First, new drugs, new ways to go into the clinic, and finally, what we believe is a totally new way of discovering drugs. And it is reassuring that the number in our stable of new drugs, the ones that are genuinely new entities, either antibodies or low molecular weight, is increasing year on year. And these are good drug candidates.
One visible result of the NIBR research activities is the fact that the research pipeline is growing. The number of programs in new molecular entities has also increased significantly, from 60 to 80 approximately, between 2004 and 2006.
You can't force innovation. You end up needing the right people, the right goals, and the right environment. Because science is failure after failure before success. You know, success is not final, says Churchill. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. And this is a good quote for scientists, and I believe for any of us in the innovation business.
As the executive committee takes their places on the stage, people in the audience consider their questions for the Q&A session.
We would love to do more in India from an R&D point of view, especially from a deep point of view. But we also need afterwards to have an environment where the innovation is protected, where we know the government stands behind, that they understand that in the mid to long term, the country will greatly profit from enhanced intellectual property rights, because it will allow to create high value-adding jobs and to pursue the path of growth, of economic growth, on which India is engaged very solidly in many, many industries. And there is no reason why the pharmaceutical industry should be an exception, because there is a so-called national generic industry. So patents are needed, and India has a particular challenge in the way that on one side you have very many poor people, and on the other side you have a middle class which is emerging, about 150 to 200 million people. And some can and some can't afford drug therapy. So it's a dilemma. One piece I think we should really seriously reconsider is at certain project team meetings to invite customers, meaning physicians and patients, and talk to them about what we intend to do and directly have them as being part of the team. It's a difficult kind of thing to do, and it's a very easy thing to do. One has just to jump over our own shadow and jump over the, I would say, convenience of being among ourselves. It's always so much easier to be among ourselves.
We are working on a vaccine that could be used pre-pandemic, a vaccine that covers the current strain of H5N1, where we believe that by vaccinating against that strain, we can create some basic immunity against any other H5N1 strain. We can offer this vaccine to all employees on a totally voluntary basis. We believe that this will provide, in case of a pandemic, significant level of protection. We believe that once this vaccine has been approved, that also quite a range of other companies and governments will be very much interested to take this vaccine and provide it to special populations in preparation of a pandemic.
The challenge for us will be that we will not benefit anymore from the one-time effect of the Chiron acquisition, because as of May, we are comparing ourselves against 2006, where we started to report Chiron. The Zellnorm marketing suspension is a significant impact. The full year effect was 620 million in sales. So Zellnorm is really a disappointment for us. Then Lamisil and Trileptal, as of middle of the year, will face generic competition in the US. The good news is that as of the second half of 2008, we will see very dynamic growth, and because we will then compare ourselves against the challenging second half of 2007. And for 2009, 10 and 11, we will have double-digit growth, because we will face a period where all of our launches, and we will have between 6 and 10 launches in that period, will really come to a very significant growth effect without having additional generic challenges.
So with that, I would conclude our session and would like to thank you all, because it has been a very good quarter, and has been a very good quarter because of your performance and your doing. And I was thinking ahead of the year, it's not so easy when you see a difficult period ahead of you. But boy, I know if we stand together and work through this period, Thomas already promised to us a fantastic second half of 2008. We will go through that, and we will nevertheless, I think, achieve better results than last year, but not as good as we really would have liked. So be it. I think adversity can also energize, and adversity can also bring us closer together. And I think that will be the objectives. And moving forward with energy and with ambition.